I mean,
I'm not saying that some dumb team is going to look at Anthony Richardson's combine numbers and take him before they do Stetson. I'm also not going to doubt that they're not going to get anywhere with Anthony Richardson, and he will be a washout in 5 years.
but he thinks
I have
Stetson's going to have a
super
meaningful
strong
quarterback,
freaking
a
feelings
meaningful
about Anthony
career in the
Richardson.
NFL.
All right, fam jam. It is me, Georgia. I am back from crossing the pond. Thank you to the boys for the 2 episodes they knocked out while I was over there eating haggis and drinking scotch.
I would probably rather eaten haggis than the circus peanuts, which we talked about in the last episode.
Absolutely, no doubt.
Honestly, haggis is not bad. Like, they had a horseradish sauce with it. They deep fried it, and being from the South, deep fried anything is damn near good. So it honestly was not bad. Nobody else in the party enjoyed it. They were like, this is not for me. But
The party. You sound like a D&D group. We went to Scotland.
well, if there's any place to play Dungeons and Dragons, Scotland would be the place.
Well, there's very few things that are made worse by deep frying. So,
Yeah, the worst thing the South has put out is deep fried butter. That's gross. Like, I can solidly say I don't want to eat that ever.
deep fried Oreos, bomb.
Yeah,
Butter,
they deep
not
fry
bad.
beer, and it's actually they make a funnel cake with a beer batter in it, and it's pretty good. But deep fried butter in
okay.
Texas, I was like, that's just why we die early, guys.
A beer batter funnel cake. That's basically like, take the crust off of like fried fish and then just make a funnel cake with it.
But they call it deep fried beer. I was with it. So, anywho, that concludes that trip for me, and it's Tuesday, so we're going to jump in. Now, everybody does know that the NFL Combine was this weekend, so that's what we're going to talk about today. We do have news to get out of the way. Some big, expensive contracts were signed, so we will do that. And then we'll jump in on our deep dives on the NFL Combine, what it means for the draft, and what it could mean for potential teams going into next year trying to knock out the Chiefs and the current dynasty that they're on.
Are we calling it a dynasty? Is it a dynasty? Maybe one more.
He's outdoing Brady already in what Brady did in the first 5 years.
Well, if they win one more in the next 2 years, I'll call it a dynasty.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and dive into some news. So the big news from the last few days is that Derek Carr watch is over. He's got signed by the New Orleans Saints. As a matter of fact. He's going to be their new starter. His deal that he got, 4 years, $150 million, $100 million in guarantees. He gets $70 million fully guaranteed, including a $60 million signing bonus. So obviously his contract is very friendly for the Saints cap situation since it is one of the worst. As a Falcons fan, I'm thrilled by this news. I am absolutely thrilled that the Saints signed Derek Carr. Now, listen, I like Derek Carr as a person, but as a quarterback, thrilled. Glad.
I mean, clearly the Saints are a better team than the Raiders. I mean, they clearly have better receivers than Devontae Adams and, Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow. Obviously, that running back room is gonna look amazing, considering, Kamara and his issues. No, like you said, as a Falcons fan, I'm stoked about this. He got a no trade clause too, so they can't even get rid of him if they wanted to. It's just like,
wait, really? I didn't see that part. Did they really put a no trade clause in there?
Yep, a full no trade clause actually.
Yep.
Who said that was a good idea? Man, okay.
Apparently the Saints. I mean, if I was a Saints fan, I'm just sitting here like, who asked for this? Who asked for this? Did any of us want Derek Carr? Did any of you want Derek Carr? I can't imagine you did.
$40 million a year? Like, my God.
I think the
AAV is like 37.5.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Daniel Jones out here asking for 45. We'll get into that later, I'm sure. But dear God, the poor New York Giants.
Yep. Well, I think the only one who asked for it was Dennis Allen. And obviously, Dennis Allen was the coach at the Raiders. I think actually when they drafted Carr, as a matter of fact. So, so they reunite there. We'll see how it works out. But yeah, the Saints have
spoilers. It won't. It won't.
Spoiler alert! It won't.
The positive is that they're in the NFC South, which is massively down. That's the only positive that they can get out of this. Brady retiring, leaving the Bucks. They're rebuilding. Carolina's not real good. Atlanta could be, could not be. We don't really know.
I mean, we'll have to see if the Bucks blow it up. I mean, they've still got a really good defense. They've got a lot of playmakers offensively. I mean, they find a solid quarterback. That division's wide open. Panthers still have a good defense. The Falcons are the Falcons, and there's a lot of room for improvement. So it's. But locking yourself to Derek Carr. Hey, yeah, kudos to them. Kudos to them. The FTS. That's all I got to say.
They looked at every free agent option and every potential draft option, and they gave Derek Carr that money. So that pretty much tells you everything you need to know. But yeah, I agree with Nick. I think that obviously, a little biased, but I think the Falcons, they can do work, and I actually think Carolina's on they're swinging back up as well. I like Frank Reich a lot. They have some good weapons there still. I really like DJ Moore. I've always been a fan of him. Foreman is another great running back. So
I was going to say their run game was not broad. Their run game is what won them the games they did this past season. So
even then they traded CMC away.
Yeah, right. And but even after that, I mean, Foreman was still doing work. So yeah,
right.
They just need a QB there, I think, in Carolina, and they'll be, pretty solid too. So.
And they were smart enough not to give Derek Carr $150 million.
Right.
Let's not give them too much credit. They did pay Sam Darnold some money last year, so let's not.
I wasn't giving them too much. I'm just giving them more.
Baker Mayfield was also on that team at some point in time. So.
Who went to LA and started winning games for whatever godforsaken reason that jerk off was winning something.
Because LA has a great offensive line and a phenomenal wide receiving core. I mean,
even without Cup, can you imagine if he had Cup available?
Yeah, that would have been crazy.
Disgusting.
Let's talk about a team now that we're definitely more excited about. At least I am. The Jaguars made a couple of moves. Calvin Ridley has been officially reinstated, so he will be with the Jaguars as a receiving option, adding to an already, I won't say stacked, but a very solid wide receiver core with Christian Kirk. I forget the other guys they have there. But Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, pretty good 1-2 option.
Zay Jones was down there?
Yeah, I think so. And then they also franchise tagged Evan Ingram. So
I love that. I love the fact that they're keeping Ingram, keeping that going. He was a big highlight for the Jags passing game this year. I think the Jags win the division next year.
Yeah, I would agree. I wouldn't say that's a hot take at all. Not that you were implying it, but yeah, I think I could easily see them. I mean, they made the playoffs. They're, not only are they securing the weapons that they had, but they're bringing another one in Calvin Ridley. Trevor Lawrence is only going to get better. So yeah, I'm very excited to see what the Jaguars do this season.
I don't want to
listen, Christian Kirk is a good wide receiver. If you never got to watch Calvin Ridley play, that's wide receiver one on that team now.
Yeah.
Like, that's a huge player to add to that offense. Don't undersell how good Calvin Ridley was. Even a year removed, the dude was a monster in Atlanta.
And isn't Doug Peterson down there?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love him. On the sidelines, I like how interactive he is with the players. I like that he's got that little bit of gusto to him. So yeah, I'm big on the Jags for this coming season. If they have a solid draft to get a little bit in the lines, maybe one more defensive back, I think they could make a decent run in the playoffs. Do I think they're going to win the Super Bowl? Probably not. But do they win the division? I think so.
Who else is in their division? I can't remember off the top of my head.
I can tell you.
Jags or.
But I will say, even as Falcons fans, we're still rooting for Calvin Ridley because the better he does, the better the pick that they traded for him is.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
It's the Jaguars, Titans, Colts, and Texans in the AFC South.
Well, yeah, absolutely. That seems like a very easy division for them to win.
Right.
Colts are still stuck in limbo. Looks like the Titans are about to blow it all up. Derrick Henry on the trade block.
I was about to say they're shopping
segue into
Henry,
that now.
Man, I like you would think the
Atlanta,
one person
please.
Tennessee,
Arthur Smith, reunite, please. God, anything. Like I love Tyler Algier, but Arthur Smith with Derrick Henry is disgusting. We have to do it. Whatever it costs, I don't care. We can trade our first round pick this year. I don't care. Please make it happen.
We have the cap space. Yeah, let's make it happen, Atlanta. Come on now.
Leave Baltimore alone. Go get King Henry.
Yeah.
Bro, could you imagine if they swung Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry in one season?
That would be disgusting. There'd be no passing yards, but the rushing attempts would
you
be
wouldn't need them.
Insane.
You wouldn't need them.
So here we go. This is our public plea to just when Derrick Henry, go call Lamar Jackson and y'all work it out to where y'all both want to play together. Come to Atlanta and please let us watch that offense go. Because that would be disgusting.
Please.
Yeah, please. All right. So I mentioned it last week, but March is an exciting time from an NFL news standpoint because the league year starts on March 15th. So these first couple weeks that we're in right now is going to be like the tagging season. So this is when you're going to see all these expiring contracts and things like that happen. And then after March 15th is when you're going to see a lot of signings happen to different teams and things like that. So speaking of another franchise tag, the Raiders have officially franchise tagged Josh Jacobs, which secure a weapon. They have a lot of signings that they have to do, so I wasn't too surprised by this news. I'm not a fan personally of franchise tagging because I think it kind of screws over the player in the situation, but they did lock him in for at least another season, I believe. And yeah, I mean, good for the Raiders, but they got more work to do as far as other people they got to sign. So
yeah, I don't really foresee him running as hard as he did this year for that. Like, I don't think he particularly wants to be in Vegas. I think he knows that they're not built, especially with Carr leaving, they're not built to make any kind of run in the playoffs. The kid's really good. He wants to do well in rings and stuff. So, I mean, again, it's more for the team, but next season will not be as good as what he just did.
I think it depends on who they get at QB. I mean, that team is really, like, I don't think it's as bad as Derek Carr made it look. And I'm not to say blame everything on Derek Carr, but Devontae Adams is still a wide receiver. They'll have to figure out what they're going to do with Waller and Renfro if they're free agents or not. But locking up Josh Jacobs, you've still got Devontae Adams. That's still a pretty solid foundation to any offense. I mean, like, you get a decent young quarterback, you can definitely foster a winning culture there.
I've actually heard a rumor that one of the front runners for that QB signing is actually Jimmy Garoppolo. He has a history with Josh McDaniels. He's not a terrible quarterback. I don't know how much of an improvement he is.
I mean, he's Derek Carr light.
Right.
He's not going to do any better than Derek Carr. But I mean, as a bridge player, if you find a rookie you like, I mean, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't.
Yeah.
I will say we did get some feedback the last time we talked about the Raiders that they've already figured out Waller and Renfro, so they're not free agents.
Okay. Well, then there you go. I mean, you've got an incredible.
You've got
offense.
Renfro, Waller, Devontae Adams, and Josh Jacobs. You'd think you could plug in and just go.
I mean, draft a QB, sign some offensive line.
Yeah,
not a bad offense. The offensive line is a big hit. Like, they need to go after that in this draft.
Yeah, and I think defense too. I think their defense could use some improvement. So, all right, another big contract, or not contract, I should say, an extension. The Seahawks reached a deal with Geno Smith, the reigning comeback player of the year. It's a 3-year deal worth $105 million. So he got the contract extension he was looking for. I mean,
I love it. That's great. I love that he resurrected the career, got the Jets off of his back. Do we know how much of that is guaranteed? Is any of it like bonuses or anything?
I can look it up while you guys talk about it.
I love what he did this year. Again, it's not, we're going to make a big run in the playoffs or whatever, but he had a really good season. And I'm happy that he's getting rewarded to that. It also shows other QBs that may not be Mahomes or those top tier guys that, look, if you go out and you really, really perform, the right team will reward you for it. So I think it's a good pickup from the Seahawks. I think he's a good plug-in. There's good team chemistry. So
$30 million fully guaranteed at signing. So
okay. So
I mean, good for him.
Gives him more incentives to work his ass off. You know, if you want the 105, go get it. You have the opportunity to get it. So it's team friendly, it's player friendly, and it resurrected a career that could have ended rough. So I'm big happy for it.
Yeah, I mean, the Seahawks are kind of a weird team to me because I don't really know what to think about them. And if you look at the offense on paper, right, it's really good. I mean, Geno is a good quarterback. He can get the job done. I mean, they made the playoffs. And you've got a really great rookie running back in Kenneth Walker. You've got Tyler Lockett. You have DK Metcalf. I mean, you don't really have a superb tight end there, but I mean, they don't really use their tight end a lot. To me, I think it's the defense. I think they need to just find a way to put their team in a better position to win games.
I don't know why they got away from it because they used Jimmy Graham a lot back in the day.
Yeah. I mean, Jimmy Graham was a great tight end. So I mean, maybe that's part of it, but yeah, not 100%. The Seahawks are kind of a mystifying team to me right now.
Yeah, that's exactly that describes perfectly how I feel. It's such a weird team. It's like I don't know if they're good, I don't know if they're bad. They're better than they should be, but they're not as good as they should be either. It's like that weird limbo area.
Yep, for sure. All right, moving on to our last couple bits of news here. Lamar watch. The Ravens. A Ravens deal with Lamar is looking a lot less likely with each passing day, and with each passing day, it's looking more likely.
It's not gonna happen. They have to tag him by 4 o'clock today. There's no deal with Lamar happening. It's dead in the water. It's done. Like it's done.
Yeah, so he will more than likely get tagged. I personally have heard a rumor that it's going to be what's called a non-exclusive tag. And so from what I understand, and either of you correct me if I'm wrong, but a non-exclusive tag means that he can receive other offers from he can receive offers from other teams that the Ravens can either accept or reject. And I think part of the package required for a non-exclusive tag is 2 first-round picks.
I read it as basically other teams can make an offer and the Ravens can counter that offer. It's not that they can choose who he goes to, but they can say, "Oh, we'll match that." Yeah. But if he declines the Ravens offer and goes with the other team, they get 2 first-round picks.
That's right. Yeah,
which, in my opinion, is not a bad price to pay for Lamar Jackson. So if he's available for 2 first-round picks, I'm pulling the trigger.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Yeah, and thank you. I misremembered that, but you're 100% right. So yeah, it'll be curious to see what happens. Like you said, they have to do it by 4 p.m. today. So we'll see what happens, and then hopefully the Falcons sign that and make that happen. So we'll see. Actually, I'd rather have, if I have to pick, all right, if you have to pick, we'll go on this little side tangent here. If you have to pick between signing Derrick Henry or signing Lamar, who would you rather sign?
Lamar.
It's Derrick.
Interesting.
Lamar. It's no question about it.
All right.
You have a 1,000-yard rookie rusher. You don't need Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
You don't need Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, but Lamar does a lot more important things on the field than Derrick Henry
also
does. Is Derrick Henry throwing it to Drake London or Kyle Pitts?
More.
Listen, look. One of these is going to win. One of these is going to take you to the playoffs perennially. The other one failed at the Titans.
I will say,
can't carry that. He's not carrying that team now. He can't. He couldn't carry the Atlanta Falcons, who are an objectively worse team.
I will say, I think Lamar.
We don't even have Ryan Tannehill, for God's sake.
I will say, I think Lamar puts the overall Falcons team in a better position to win than as much as I would love Derrick Henry.
Former Titan crappy QB just walked away from the team.
No, he got released.
He got cut.
They sent him away from the team.
Good. Quitter.
All right, and then last piece of news here: the Giants. Speaking of bad luck with signing QBs, the Giants are also not having any luck with Daniel Jones. The audacity,
because that man thinks he's Joe Namath reincarnate. I really don't understand what season he thought he had statistically. I'm curious as to what you guys think, but I'm baffled.
No, he's. I don't get the 40. I just don't get it, man. If I played like that, and if you're happy where you're, maybe he's forcing their hand or something to get out of New York. But on the flip side of that coin, like, nobody's going to hand you that much damn money. Nobody in the league is going to hand you that money. Okay, you had Saquon.
If Geno Smith got paid $105 million Daniel Jones is worth about $104 million.
Yeah.
In my opinion. He did not have any better of a season than Geno did last year.
And Geno at least has the experience from being in the league as long as he has. Like, this Daniel Jones situation's dumb. And if they don't figure it out quick, they're going to piss off Saquon, like, more than they already have.
Well, the problem is they want to sign DJ and then just tag Saquon, but they can't tag Saquon if they don't have a quarterback. Yeah. So that's the issue they're dealing with. So it's like they can't sign Saquon, they can't sign Daniel Jones. You got 4 hours now to figure out what the hell you're going to do. Good luck.
Yeah, it basically comes down to if they can't sign Daniel Jones, he's going to get tagged, which means they got to sign Saquon. And to me, one of those dudes is going to walk.
100%.
And I think that this is the easiest decision. If you can keep Saquon or you can keep Daniel Jones, who do you keep?
What's their draft position? That's what I'm curious about. Now that we're getting into it, let's get into the nitty gritty for the Giants because
18.
They are 26th.
Oh, Joe.
They made the playoffs, yeah. So.
Yeah.
I think at this point you need to tag Saquon and do everything you can to move up. Draft Anthony Richardson or somebody, or just like. Just give up, throw your hands up, and draft Stetson in the second round or something. You got to put somebody else out there.
Whoa. Calm down. This is not... Let's go draft Anthony freaking Richardson or give up and draft Stetson. Like, Anthony Richardson...
I said give up and draft him in the second round. I mean, you're not giving up if you draft Stetson in the 5th.
I'd be willing to put money down that Anthony Richardson gets drafted before Stetson.
Oh, 100%. No doubt. I mean,
I'm not saying that some dumb team is going to look at Anthony Richardson's combine numbers and take him before they do Stetson. I'm also not going to doubt that they're not going to get anywhere with Anthony Richardson and he will be a washout in 5 years.
But he thinks Stetson's going to have a meaningful quarterback,
freaking feelings about Anthony Richardson. I do not know, just because he threw a couple balls with nobody in his face that looked good. Okay, we're getting...
That's what Stetson did his whole college career, Drew. He had
no, he didn't. He ran around.
He never faced pressure ever.
Oh my God! Just tell me you don't watch football without telling me you don't watch college football.
All right. We'll get into that.
Now we're getting into the. I watched some college games, so I know who's going to be good and who's going to be bad.
All right, we'll get into it because it's coming up here. But any other
anyway, on the last of the New York Giants, I think we're all in agreement. If they're between the two, you keep Saquon. That's that heart of that team right now.
At the end of the day, they're going to lose one, and losing either is going to doom them. I think it doesn't matter what happens. I think they're screwed.
They're doomed. There's no hope. Everybody just get out now.
This was your 1 year, New York, and you screwed it up.
I mean, it really did. It's like they played way above their expectations. Now their draft position sucks. They got a QB on a contract year. Your franchise running back, who's, like you said, the face of that franchise currently.
And that's the crazy
contract here.
That's the crazy thing to me is that Daniel Jones is not the face of their franchise. Saquon is. I mean,
right.
You think New York Giants, you think Saquon. And top 3 running back in the league that week by week gives you a better chance to win games. And I don't understand how you're prioritizing signing this mid QB over one of the top running backs in the league. And that's why I said it before, and I'll say it again. If you got kids and you want them to play football, do not let them be running backs because the disrespect is incredible.
Huge.
Saquon and Josh Jacobs are both probably going to make $10 million next season, while Daniel Jones makes $45 a year.
Well, Derek Carr makes however much.
37.5.
Yeah, backup QB. That's what you want to be.
So, going into combine talks, we're trying to break this down to not try to talk to every single person that was at the combine or any of those. So what we're looking at is the biggest draft stock risers, the biggest draft stock fallers, our favorite incoming rookie and where we would like them to end up, not where we're thinking they're going to end up, but where we see the fit and that's our dream spot. And then we're all going to take a big hot take for the first round of the draft.
Yeah, I want to say just generally, I thought this combine was pretty good. There was a lot happening, and I think it was a much more eventful combine than we've seen in the past. I think there's a lot of guys who improved their draft stock, which is always fun to watch. And there wasn't a ton. I mean, it was kind of slim pickings figuring out whose stock kind of fell the most. Overall, I think it was a good combine, very fun to watch. And I'll get us started here with our biggest, winners or risers from the draft. And we were just talking about it a little bit, but I want to talk about Anthony Richardson because I think going into, and I kind of mentioned this last week, but I think going into the combine, I saw him as kind of a day 2 pick, right? I think, best case, I saw him back half of the first round. I think after the combine, it would not surprise me if he is not only in the top half of the first round, but if he's also like a top 12, top 10 pick. I think he balled out. He greatly improved his stock. And I'm going to tell you, Drew, I don't think you're wrong. I think he is very raw. And I think his talent needs to, he needs to find himself in a system that will help develop his talent. But just as an athlete and just the numbers he was able to put up, let me read you guys these numbers real quick. So this is among the participating quarterbacks, so the quarterbacks that participated in these drills. He was the first in the 40-yard dash and the third highest in combine history. He was third overall in the 10 split and also third highest in combine history.
Now, when you say that, are you like for position or overall?
So first in the 40 this year among the participating quarterbacks, but in combine history, that's like overall, like all positions.
Because then John Ross still has 4.22, and that's still the top benchmark, isn't it?
I'm sorry, that is quarterbacks. You're correct. I apologize. Yeah. So he ran the 4.23.
I was like, if he ran it that fast, wow.
No, I apologize. It's quarterbacks in combine history. He ran a 4.43, which is only second behind Reggie McNeil and then Robert Griffin III. Then he also had the highest vert, 40.5-inch vertical, which is the highest amongst quarterbacks in combine history. And then the longest broad jump by 5 inches, 10 feet 9 inches, which again is the highest in combine history for quarterbacks. And then if you just watch his film from the passing drills, he was dropping dimes. I think, like you said, there was one overthrow, and there was one pass that was like 60 yards downfield, hit the receiver right in the hands, and he just dropped it. I mean, I think that was just, he should have had it. But I think, I also heard a rumor that all of his like interviews went extremely well. Teams were kind of surprised by how well they went. So, I think overall, no, I don't think there's a quarterback that benefited more from the combine than Anthony Richardson. And like I said, it would not surprise me if he is a top 10 pick now. So
I will agree that I think no QB benefited more from their work at the combine than Richardson.
I don't know. Stroud was knocking on that door, man. His accuracy was insane.
But we expected that more from Stroud than we would AR-15.
I don't know. Stroud brought himself from a top 10 to like vying for like the number 1 overall spot. Yeah. So I think he helped himself pretty well too. But no, I agree wholeheartedly. Anthony Richardson had an amazing combine. But then I realistically think about how little the combine actually matters. And it's like so many people have had such great combines. And then you start to think, he had a great vertical. What the hell is that going to translate to? And then when do quarterbacks really jump for things? I guess you jump over the pile trying to get a couple yards, but the combine's so weird. Why do we have this? But no, Anthony Richardson, like you said, had an amazing combine. Another guy that showed out, I think me and Drew agreed on this one, Nolan Smith. Just absolutely. Went from a guy who was not even being really talked about that much to a dude that's like shot up draft boards. I don't know that any individual player at the combine helped themselves more than he did.
Yeah, I think he was a late day 2, early day 3 guy going in, and the reason is because of the pec injury. I think he got to play 6 games this season. He was an emotional leader on the defense for Georgia in the back half of this season, but he wasn't able to play. The NFL doesn't get a lot of film on him. Plus, when he was playing last year, he was behind, number 1 pick Trayvon Walker. He was behind a bunch of, NFL talent from the past year. So the film isn't there. But yeah, dude showed out. And I'm like Nick, I'm way more interested of like his jump and his 40 off the edge than I am a quarterback's doing that. But yeah, he's definitely my biggest draft start riser. I think everybody will agree. I think we're doing it, try to get some more names on the board and bring you guys aware of other people. But on this one, we couldn't come up with more than the 2 that just shot up. He should be a day 1 pick now. I think he worked himself into a first-round pick.
Yeah, I honestly, I think I was reading a mock draft that had the Falcons actually picking him with their first-round pick, which would be awesome. But
wasn't that 8, though? Don't they have the number 8?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they do.
Can you imagine being a day 3 pick and going up to pick 8?
I could definitely see them like trading back and snagging him. I'd be mad at that at all.
No, not at all. And just for clarity's sake, like you said, let me preface, I 100% agree that measurables are much more important for like those other skill position players. But I just had to draw attention to the fact that that Anthony Richardson's measurables were just crazy high.
Right, and I mean the fact that like his 40 time is insane for a quarterback. Like that's just crazy. Like you got to think about a guy rolling out of the pocket that fast. I mean, we've seen guys like with super speed, like Kyler Murray, and they cause fits for people. You know, it's you question and the thing about health and stuff like that with mobile QBs, but I think as long as he gets under the right system, he gets fostered by the right coach, I think he could really shine somewhere. I really do.
I think they just need to nurture him. So when because
Jalen Hurts,
he would
just follow the Jalen Hurts recipe.
He would roll out of the pocket a lot in college.
I mean, to be fair, Florida was terrible.
Yeah, like he would make terrible decisions.
Awful team.
And it's a big difference being coached by Nick Saban and the QB whisperer Lincoln Riley versus Billy Napier and Dan Mullen, who couldn't give just the quarterbacks when he was at Florida because he was a head coach. Like, I'm going to trust Saban and Lincoln Riley to bring QBs to be NFL ready more than those 2 guys. So Richardson just didn't make good decisions on the field when he would roll out. He would get away, and he's got a cannon for an arm, but his accuracy was drastically lower on the run, and I just...
he also didn't have anywhere near the skill at Florida either. I mean, he wasn't really surrounded by a bunch of all-stars. I totally disagree that Nick Saban gets any quarterback ready for the NFL. I mean, he's gotten lucky as far as like Tua's concerned, but I mean, other than Tua, I mean, really, who else has really been worthwhile out of Alabama?
Bro, Mac Jones.
Right.
And right. Jalen Hurts,
Jalen Hurts did not come out of Alabama.
All right, let's not get into that.
And listen, he spent 4 years at one university, played 1 season at another one, and left because he already had his degree.
Right, but his records are classified as in Oklahoma. I mean, right, ESPN's wrong, whatever. Anyway, we digress. Literally every analyst has already come out and said that Jalen Hurts was not even a NFL caliber quarterback coming out of Oklahoma. So everything that happened to Jalen Hurts happened in the NFL. So I don't necessarily think that college coaches are getting people ready for the NFL. They're getting people ready for college games. At the end of the day, I think it really just matters what system Anthony Richardson gets into. I mean, if he goes to a team like the Rams with Sean McVay, I mean, he's going to ball out.
Yeah, well, and we've talked extensively before, and, a bunch of NFL players have talked about how just college and NFL, it's like night and day difference as far as just like the speed of the game and everything that goes into it. So all that to say, I completely agree with you guys that he has to get into the right system with someone who can develop him properly. But if he does, I think he will be a force to reckon with. Yeah,
but Jalen Hurts is the anomaly in this situation. You look at RG3, who didn't have a long career
because of injuries.
Okay, because he was mobile, which is what Anthony Richardson plans on being. Lamar Jackson has not won anything of significance.
I mean, he's also like 26 years old. I mean, it's not like he's had a bunch of time to.
Outside of Michael Vick, who off-field issues will not worry about. He was really good, but didn't win anything of significance. And Jalen Hurts. That's the 2 biggest successful types of players that we're talking about that Anthony Richardson's trying to be. Nobody's won anything that way.
Donovan McNabb.
Patrick Mahomes isn't a mobile quarterback. Josh Allen doesn't roll out of the pocket a lot. I mean, you can style Anthony Richardson to be a better version of these guys. I mean, we see it today, like I said, with Patrick Mahomes. He doesn't rush all that often, but when he does, it's effective because he has the speed. He typically sets the edge. They use his rollouts to create problems downfield for DBs so that they can scheme their wide receivers open. So it's like you could figure out how to do it with Anthony Richardson, especially with that deep ball arm he's got. I mean, I would realistically run him as a prototypical like Patrick Mahomes type guy. I mean, like he's got the arm.
He's nowhere near.
He's got the arm talent that Patrick does. He's the same sort of blueprint that Patrick was coming out of Texas Tech. He's a mobile quarterback with a bazooka arm. That's what Patrick was. He gets with an Andy Reid type coach. He gets with a good coach. He can be effective in the NFL.
Yeah. And then just to come back to what we were talking about, Nolan Smith, first in the 40, first in the 10, first in the vert, and then a third in the broad jump. So,
yeah, Nolan Smith ended up being a super athletic freak in the combine. So I can't imagine going to be a lower second day, upper third day into the first round. Like, that's awesome. So kudos to him. And I think the reason he was so far back is they didn't have a lot of film. So, yeah, I think me and Nick hit the nail on the head there. Like, Nolan Smith made him
feasted
think.
Freaking went off.
Yeah, nuts.
All right, we'll move on here from our top risers to our top fallers, or the losers of the combine. And I'll get us started here again. Not much to say, honestly. And you know, this is kind of a time will tell situation for me. But I think the biggest faller is Bryce Young. He opted to not participate in the workouts, which is fine. You can do a pro day. The reason, and let me kind of spin this for you, but the reason I think why he was one of the biggest fallers is he chose not to participate in the workouts, which normally I think is fine. But you have to look at all these other quarterback prospects in this class. They all balled out during this workout. So I think that he went from, I think he's still in the top 3 conversation, right? I'm not saying he's going to be like a day 2 guy or anything. But I think he didn't do himself any favors by not working out and opting to do a pro day, while the rest of this class performed the way that they did. So yeah, that's just my personal opinion. I did want to shout out another faller who I had on my list before I switched to Bryce Young, Kayshon Boutte, wide receiver at LSU. I just wanted to say that his workouts were booty. So,
you just wanted the double entendre there.
No, but I mean, really,
John just wanted to talk about some booty, Drew. That's clearly what it is.
Well, I preface all that by saying that I'm not saying I could do any of these workouts better than any of these guys. I mean, in his 40 times,
I'd smoke Rich Eisen in every single event.
Well, Kayshon,
no doubt about it.
His 40 time was fine. His explosive numbers weren't there, and I think in this wide receiver class, it's kind of very top heavy in my opinion. You got guys like Quentin Johnson and Jackson Smith and Jigba, and guys like that. But then after that, there's not a whole lot. So I think his workout was just kind of overall disappointing and didn't really help him at all.
Yeah, I don't know if I necessarily agree with Bryce Young's draft stock really dropping at all. I mean, people are still talking about him potentially being drafted number 1 overall, so I think he's fine. I don't think really anybody cares about those sort of it's nice to see from the smaller time players, like, Max Duggan probably needed a good combine, Stetson needed a good combine, but it's like Bryce Young's tape is going to get him drafted ultimately. I mean, what he put on tape is what's going to get him drafted. So I don't know that he necessarily was hurt that much. My player who I thought definitely took a hit literally and figuratively, the offensive lineman, I forget his first name. I know his last name was Voorhees because it stood out to me like this guy Halloween type stuff. Like, what's going on? But I believe he tore his ACL during combine workouts. Just a terrible crappy thing to happen, especially when you're trying to help yourself. You end up hurting yourself, and literally and figuratively, because it's definitely going to plummet his draft stock. Hopefully he's able to rebound and have a successful career, but that's who I think obviously plummeted the most.
Yeah, it was Andrew Voorhees out of USC.
Andrew, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so I'll definitely go with that. Anytime an injury happens, it's immediate, and while the NFL scouts feel for you, they understand it. They know better because it's a business decision. Then, I think it's a double-edged sword for Bryce Young. It could be really good just to have a pro day if your pro day goes really well, but if you're the only one out there and you suck, I think it weighs more than if you're with other ones and there's other stuff for people to pay attention to. If all these people go there for a pro day and then you're not what they're expecting, I think it's worse.
Has anybody ever had a bad pro day? I can't remember any player ever having a just absolutely shitting the bed in their pro day. Has that ever happened?
Yeah,
because I feel like
there's a reason we don't know about it, because they're not memorable people. They're oh, this will be great, and then they're terrible, and then they don't get drafted. They don't do well.
Yeah, but I feel like if there was a huge guy that was big name, and then just pro day and nobody.
Teddy Bridgewater.
Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah, he opted for a pro day. It went really bad, and then obviously it turned out okay for him. He still got drafted and still did okay.
Got murdered.
But his draft stock definitely did take a hit from a bad pro day.
Yeah.
But that's the first one that comes to mind.
Faller to me is the tight end out of Notre Dame, Michael Mayer. There was this huge
Andrew Voorhees and Michael Myers.
Yeah, crazy, right? So this episode sponsor is actually the film Halloween. But there was this narrative go on all season during college football of who the best tight end in college football was. Was it Mayer? Was it Brock Bowers? Didn't even look somewhere else. And then you get into putting Darnell, who was behind Bowers at Georgia, and Darnell Washington shows out. And Mayer's measurables were not great. He wasn't that fast. He didn't jump just none of the measurables really. He was very middle of the pack just for this class and as a tight end overall. And they were trying to get him the publicists behind him were trying to get him to a top 15 pick, and I think he is very much a second day pick now. He will not be in the first round.
Yeah, no argument from me. I wasn't too high on his draft stock anyway. But yeah, I was just looking at his numbers, and he didn't do himself any favors. He was last in a lot of these measurables. So
yeah, it was rough. He had a rough day.
Yeah, I did not know a single tight end going into the combine. So that was the one position I was not paying attention to.
The only tight end highlight I saw actually was Darnell Washington
pushing the sled
drill. Yeah, pushing the sled. Which was impressive, but we all kind of
that and his one-handed catch that he high pointed at 7'2". The high point of that ball was 7'2".
Yeah, and even considering all that, honestly, I don't see him being a day one pick. I see him being a day two guy, and it's not anything against him. I think it's just how the NFL views tight ends right now, and then the need for teams out there. I just see him as a day two guy. I don't see him in the first round, but we will see.
So the positive way of spinning that is you see him as a value pick for a team.
Sure. Yeah, we can go with that.
The positive way to spin it would be, he'll be the first tight end off the board.
Yeah,
there you go. That's the way.
In the second or third round.
In the second or third.
But he'll be the first one off the board.
It'll only be pick 104, but that'll be the first time.
Hey, there you go. Hey, you got it. You guys are with me.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to our favorite incoming rookies and dream landing spots. And I will preface all this by saying this is completely hopeful for me from a fantasy football perspective, because I would absolutely love to draft him on this team next year. But if Bijan Robinson, running back out of Texas, right?
Yep.
If he can somehow find himself on the Philadelphia Eagles, boys, I'm going to tell you right now, he will be one of the top running back picks in fantasy football next year. You look at, the Jets drafted that rookie running back who tore his ACL. I can't remember his name. It's completely blanking on me right now.
Was it Sanders?
Well, you had Kenneth Walker over in Seattle.
Brees Hall.
Brees Hall.
Imagine that, but then Bijan Robinson is one of the best running back prospects, I think, definitely in this class, but also in the last few years to come through. And so if he can find himself on a team that was just in the Super Bowl with the Eagles and then the scheme that they run, and I know a lot of people are saying, well, they have Miles Sanders, they have all those other guys there. All the running backs they have there, including Miles Sanders, are not impressive to me. They're not guys that are going to make a huge difference in your game. I think the reason why they've had as much success as they did was the scheme of the Eagles and just what they're able to do with Jalen Hurts and taking the pressure off of the running backs and just the way that team operates, the running backs. There's a lot of potential there. Miles Sanders is also a free agent. So arguably their best running back that they have there right now is not going to be there. Then they also have Kenneth Gainwell, who has been there for a little bit. Hasn't really, I mean, he was impressive in the postseason, but, no one there is really stepping up to take the reins of that running back room. And I think Bijan Robinson can do that. And I'm telling you right now, if the Eagles somehow get him and he's on that team, he's going to be probably a first to third round pick in fantasy football next year. And I also think it won't be too much of a stretch to make that worth the price. So that's what I would like to see.
That is, unless he plays against D Winters again.
That's fair.
He ran more yards in his 40-yard dash than he did against TCU. But moving on.
Savage. Yay! That was great.
But I'm gonna go with Quentin Johnson. That's the rookie I'm most excited to see play in the NFL. It's just like a dude who was showing out like a freak on Saturdays. I got to watch him every game, just ball out. It's like I just can't wait to see what team gets him and how they're going to use him. I'm super excited.
Hopefully, the college game doesn't transfer to the NFL, so it doesn't actually mean. Because anytime I bring up college, it doesn't mean they're going to do well. He'll probably just sit there for 5 years.
I mean, he could. The last two TCU wide receivers that were big names were pretty trash. So, I mean, it's absolutely possible. I mean, I can.
No, Q does be great. I loved watching him.
But I'm hoping if he gets drafted to a crappy team that they're able to use him well. I'm hoping he goes to like the Chiefs. Maybe that would be a crazy matchup. Him with Mahomes would be insane. Maybe Ravens if Lamar does decide to stay. That would be cool to see, but we'll see how that plays out.
The film for him that separated himself from me was that drag route against Michigan. It did not look he was running as fast as he was, and he got the edge on 3 defensive backs who were supposed to be faster than him, and it was a 10-yard drag route. That's all it was, and he took it for like 80 yards to the house. So. Yeah, I'm big on Quentin Johnson. I'm also big on D Winters. I really like him coming into this draft class. So my biggest incoming rookie that I'm looking forward to is Big O, Darnell Washington. Like we said, tight ends, weird value in the league right now. Probably not a first-round pick. I would love it if he was. I'd be really proud for him. I would like to see him land and see Atlanta do some 12 groupings out on the field, what Georgia was able to do with Monken last year with Bowers and Darnell on the outside. I think that would be pretty cool to see in Atlanta, that kind of scheme. Pitts is a freak, and Big O is also, just the measurables are huge, plus he's a blocking nightmare. We saw that on the blocking sled. Outside of that, I'd kind of like to see in Seattle and see if they can get some of that Jimmy Graham magic back. Especially with Geno going over there. The offense is still the same for Seattle there, and the reason they used Graham was because he was so tall. His fantasy points were never in yardage. It was all touchdown dependent, but when he was playing, they were going to get one touchdown to Jimmy Graham every single game. It was nuts. So that's what I would look for is Big O. Probably I would like to see him more in Seattle, but if Atlanta got him, I wouldn't be sad about it either.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. I wouldn't be mad if Atlanta drafted Bijan Robinson or Quentin Johnson either. So, but I digress. So,
I mean, I'd be a little salty if they drafted Bijan at 8. I'd be a little pissed off at that. I ain't gonna lie. But
that's fair. That's fair. No, that's totally fair. Yeah, I don't disagree with either of your picks. I'm excited for both of those prospects and to see where they land. And I guess I'm more interested to see how Darnell pans out. I think Quentin Johnson will have success. Rookie wide receivers typically do, usually more quickly than rookie running backs do. And definitely rookie, like incoming tight ends, it takes them a good 2 or 3 years to kind of get adjusted and acclimated. They say it's like the year 3 is like the tight end breakout year. So I'm very curious to see where Darnell ends up, but then also, 2 or 3 years from now, what he's able to do in the league. So, all right, moving on to our last bit that we got here. Hottest take for the first round for day 1 of the NFL draft. And I will get us started one last time. And I don't know how hot this is. I don't feel like it's super hot. But my hot take is that my lukewarm take is that the Bears trade back twice in the top 10. So I see it panning out that they trade back with like the Colts or somebody, and then maybe again with like the Raiders, and then grabbing a wide receiver with their first pick in that kind of early mid range. Whether it's Quentin Johnson or Jackson Smith and Jigba or one of these wide receivers, that's what they need the most, in my opinion. I don't think they have too many holes on their defense that they need to really worry about. So I would maybe, if they don't grab a wide receiver, like to see them grab a line of some kind, specifically O-line. But yeah, that's my hot take, is that they trade back twice in the top 10, rack up some draft capital for this year and in the next few years. So.
All right, I'll go next then. My hot take is that there's gonna be 3 QBs drafted in the first 5 picks. Just like you, I don't know how hot this take is, but it's also like, you've got Stroud there, you've got Bryce Young there. I mean, really all it's going to take is the third team to bite on Levis or Anthony Richardson or whoever else. I think it's going to happen within the first 5 picks. I think the first 2 are going to get drafted, then a team's probably going to trade up, or they're probably going to try to just grab whatever's left. So, we'll see.
Yeah, in that situation, I kind of devised in my head with the Bears trading with the Colts. It was so that they could jump up and grab one of those QBs. So yeah, I think you're right there. I could easily see that happening.
You mean so the Colts could jump up and then re-sign Phillip Rivers?
Yeah, exactly. No, re-sign Carson Wentz.
Well, Phillip Rivers said he's talking about coming back. So
well, apparently Tom Brady is too, which I think is bullshit. But.
I'm just saying, I called that forever ago.
No, you said he was going to go to the 49ers. That ain't happening.
Yeah, and I said, when he was like, the retirement video's out, it's when I was like, no, it's not. He's not done. He's going to come back for one more.
I still think he doesn't come back.
Perfect.
So, I guess on my hottest take, I think with Bryce Young sitting out, and I'm just going to bank on him having a not spectacular pro day. We're going to look at Stetson Bennett gets drafted before Bryce Young because of his fantastic measurables that he had at the combine.
And then Drew woke up. I mean, I thought this was supposed to be hot takes, not dreams and delusions.
Well, y'all both have lukewarm takes. It's like, I saw this on ESPN. This will be dope. Okay, at least I'm going out on a limb here. Now it's the thinnest limb in all of creation. But hey.
Yeah, but a hot take is not equal to a fantasy, right?
Okay,
if John and I were to come up with like, I think maybe a dragon can swoop down and just scoop up one of the Falcons.
Well, then we'll just switch it up to make it a little bit easier to take. Stetson will at least go in the first round. He may not beat Bryce, but he'll go in the first round.
That I would say that's a hot take. It's still very hot. It's still on the edge of plausibility, but it's more plausible than that first scenario.
In what world? I mean, is this the XFL draft? Because sure, he's going first round in that, no doubt.
Oh man.
Well, there we have it, guys. There's a couple of you can drink some tea takes and then an actual hot take. So,
well, listen. I mean, to be fair, Stetson did have the fastest 40-yard dash time of anybody 45 years or older. So,
man, y'all got to come up with a new joke. Him being older than people is just.
Do you think him and Phillip Rivers golf at the same country club? Do you think their dads discovered oil together?
Anywho, any closing thoughts? What are we looking forward to? The draft is now, 6 weeks away? Something like that?
I'm looking forward to more news breaking with deadlines coming up and new league year starting. Should be a fun rest of the month. So,
all right, Fam Jam. Well, that is it for us. I will get all the stuff onto YouTube for you guys now that I am back in town. And we will see you guys Thursday on another March Madness bracket of some kind. And tune in then.
Don't forget to, if you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe. If you're listening, don't forget to follow us wherever you listen to your podcasts. We recently switched podcast hosts, so now we are pretty much anywhere on the 20 million different apps you can get your podcasts on. So,
and remember, go fill out a March Madness bracket. We'll have the link for our group in there. Then you fill it out.
We will. We'll post it on Twitter, but we've opened a bracket pool on the Sleeper app, which you can go sign up and join and tell us your bracket, and we'll have a little competition here between everybody. So
you think you know more than us? You probably
do. Congratulations.
Awesome. Let's go fill it out. Prove us wrong. Proof's in the pudding. So until next time, Fam Jam, we're out.